Well, I've actually listened to, I reckon, 90% of Peak Speak and probably 90% of the Zero podcast as well.
Right. You're a super fan.
And I brought you a Dr. Pepper
Thank
to
you
say
very
thanks for
much.
coming. And the first question I wanted to ask you today was, what are you grateful for?
I saw that on there. Man, I'm grateful to be here. Grateful to get invited. Are we recording? By
Yeah,
the way?
we are.
Okay. Great. Because this was green and now it's gone red. Yeah, grateful to be here. Grateful to be invited. Grateful to be able to have a sneak peek of the gym as well. The gym is awesome here.
Yep.
Love it. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful to be able to do this for a job because you and I talk on the internet reasonably often.
Yeah.
And now we're here having a chat and we get to call it work. It's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I ask all of my guests to recall their first memory of being interested in physical culture, like strength, bodybuilding, physique stuff. Do you remember yours?
Yeah, I do. I had moved to Australia from New Zealand, and my brother was big on fitness. He stayed in New Zealand. He was really into the gym and into getting jacked and everything. And my dad took me to this Christian strongman show. So it was like, they're doing strongman stuff, but with a holy message, because we were militant Christian back in the day.
A bit of prayer in between sets.
Yeah, that's right. It was pretty much like that. It was just like a thing on stage with a little bit of a godly message in between and throughout and at the end. But I remember these guys on stage and they were doing like the just circus strongman sort of stuff, blowing up a hot water balloon and rolling a frying pan, broke a baseball bat over his back. It was just a bunch of really big jack dudes doing cool stuff. And I was like, this is unreal. And I remember they all walked off stage, and as they were walking past, I touched one of them like on the back, and I was like, wow.
That's a real man.
Yeah. I even remember his hairdo. Like he had shaved head on the side and like slicked back ponytail. It was real oily and slicked back. He looked like a wrestler. It was just awesome. And I was like, I want to be like that.
And then, what age were you then?
I would have just turned 14.
And then you got into the gym pretty soon after that?
Yeah. So I was a really big kid. I was very overweight. And I saw that and I was like, my brother's jacked as well, or getting jacked. And do they do curbside cleanup here in Sydney?
Yeah.
Like where everyone just chucks their rubbish out?
You have to organise it with the council.
Yeah, so it was like curbside cleanup time, and there was all just junk on the side of the road, and someone had thrown out all these weights. So I was like, Dad, can we grab them? So he let me grab them, clean them up, paint them. He bought me like a little combo thingy, like as in a plate-loaded lat pull-down cable sort of machine thing. One of my brothers had moved to Australia and moved away, so there was a spare room in the house, so we just turned that into my little gym, started training.
How much progress did you make on the little home gym?
It's hard to say. I don't really know. I was probably mucking around with that for a couple of years, but honestly, I can't really recall until I started going to an actual gym.
And then how did that sort of turn into like training for performance and then competing in powerlifting? How'd you take those steps?
So I really wanted to do bodybuilding. When I was 16, I bought the Arnold's Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding. Still have it, still love it. It's worn out to death. I even did he's got a diet section, and like the beginner diet is 6 raw eggs with 6 eggshells. And I'm certain he put it in there to troll people, but it worked. As in, I did it like an idiot. I'm like crunching on these raw eggshells, being like, surely this isn't right. But I did it for a little while. Eventually I was like, well, I built my training around squat, bench, and deadlift. And eventually I was like, the whole dieting thing probably isn't for me. I was riding competitive BMX at the time as well, so that was really my focus. I just really wanted to look better. That was what the gym was all about for me, and I was starting to get pretty strong. And so I wanted to enter a strongman comp, and I found a strongman comp, tried to register, but it was too late. I was on forums back then, and someone messaged me on the forum and was like, you missed out on the strongman, but there's a powerlifting comp on the same day. So I registered for that. It was a PA comp in Brisbane. Registered for that and loved it.
What were your first numbers?
In comp, I squatted 165. I benched 100. Technically, I bombed on bench, but that's actually my first recorded open powerlifting competition as well. I'd done some novice comps in the gym, but that was my first recorded one. And it says I got 100 or 110, but I actually bombed. They were just being nice because they felt bad for me. And I deadlifted my first 200 at that comp.
So it's on open powerlifting, so it counts.
Yeah.
It has to count.
It must count.
And so what, 160, 100, 200?
165. Yeah,
And then-
don't cut me short.
Sorry, 5 kilos.
I think it was that.
and-
It's probably 160. I don't even know.
Now, what are your best numbers now? Raw.
My best
I'm not
numbers
going to count the equipped stuff.
raw, but I have to say in wraps because like your listeners are these natty sleeve guys.
Yeah.
my best numbers without equipped, 345 squat, 200 bench, and 345 deadlift. The 345 deadlift was in the gym. I pulled 335 at comp.
So 335 then.
Nah, but it was comp standards and on a torn adductor, so I count it.
Yeah, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, I know.
So you've developed this system of coaching, which comes back to this like main principle. This is the way that I understand it, at least, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. But it comes back to this main principle of like everything being geared towards the technique gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain sort of how you came up with that? What was the origin of that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I've always been invested in the technical side of things. I maintain that I'm not actually that clever or gifted or anything like that. I don't have a professional background in exercise or physiology or anything like that. I'm just good at solving puzzles. And so movement to me has always been a puzzle. And as I got better and better at coaching, it seemed to just be that the more focus I put on getting people to move better and building that into their programming, the better people seem to have got. And I mean, there was never really a conscious thought process of sitting down and brainstorming, what do I need to build a model around or something like that. Eventually, I was just really well renowned as a good coach, and people started asking me for mentoring. That's when it really set me on the trajectory of reverse engineering my thought process, which helped me identify where my values are in coaching, what I build it around. Yeah.
So what was it that had you like actually try to write down and figure out this system that you just had in your head?
It was literally that, man. It was like a bunch of people. This is sort of going back to 2016, 17 sort of era. 1 year I'd coached every national champion overall winner in like 4 federations in Australia and then 3 in New Zealand. I was just getting more and more renowned as a coach. And people were asking me for mentoring. People were wanting to know what I was doing. I kept saying no. I was like, I barely know what I'm doing. I can't teach you what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing. And then eventually I just started saying yes. I just started saying, yeah, I'll do it. And it was just talking to people about their coaching and them asking me questions about my coaching started to really like show me, okay, there's actually a defined framework that I'm using that I can reverse engineer. And you were one of the first to come on board, which is why it was so shit. Like, please don't see my coach development system as a reflection of what you did with me a few years ago, because it's very different now.
No, I enjoyed it.
It was fun. But like people like you coming on board early and helping me sort of articulate my thoughts, and when I speak out loud, I can sort of say, that was actually bullshit. I need to go back to the drawing board, write that down, figure it out, has been extremely helpful.
So a little bit of fake it till you make it type of deal.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So what's your kind of rebuttal to the people that say like, you know, that there are multiple ways to do a squat or do a bench press or do a deadlift?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, when you look at the top level, not everyone lifts exactly the same way or to that gold standard that you refer to.
For sure.
How do you like rebut that?
Everyone's lifting towards their gold standard. Every coach is coaching people towards their gold standard, whether they think so or not. So like if you build into your coaching practice, okay, I'm okay with certain ranges here. I'm okay with the backgrounding a bit more, the knees caving in a little bit more. That's basically just a way of saying you're not completely confident in your understanding of what movement is, or, and I mean, that sounds insulting, but it's not meant to be. It's more so like, I prefer to use an extreme example, which is, let's say you have ranges in your own coaching. Just use the example of knees caving in on a squat. A little bit, you're like, oh, it's okay, who cares? Because there's always going to be this gap between like performance and perfection, right? Oh, a little bit, who cares? You get a new person and their knees are fucking touching together, you're probably not going to ignore that. So in a way, you're moving them. You're saying, okay, well, we need to fix this up. If you're fixing something in your head exists a gold standard, you just build fail safes around that if you're not completely confident. And you don't develop confidence if you're constantly bombarded with this message that everyone's different and a special snowflake. And so a really great example of where everyone does this is breathing and bracing. Most coaches, regardless of who they have in front of them, will teach breathing and bracing exactly the same. And so I'm not saying that my gold standard is the absolute gold standard and everything that I do is perfect. But what I'm saying is by using that as a guiding light, it's really solidified my coaching practice and amplified my coaching practice to the point where it is today.
So you're kind of saying that if you're moving someone towards a technique that you think is better, there has to then be a best.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's just in theory.
Yeah.
Like that's just in theory. And the more that you can sort of get out of your head and onto paper what is the best, whether or not it's right or wrong, the better your and more confident your decision making gets. And what you should be open to is that if you say this is the best and then you get evidence that it's not the best, you have to change your model. And that's been my journey. You know, in my head for a long time, I've thought this is the best squat. And then I've been given evidence either practically or in education that it's not the best. So I changed the model.
Yeah. And I think there's actually validity in just kind of telling your clients that this is the thing, because they get that buy-in and then they commit to that one thing and then they progress from that one thing. Even though it may not actually be the best thing, it's the best thing that you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just removing any wishy-washiness more than anything.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not demonizing anyone who doesn't practice this. I'm just saying this is...
You can if you like.
No, this is just what's provided the best practice for me.
So go back to the knees caving in example. If you see like someone in the IPF with a world record squat and their knees are caving in a whole bunch, but they're literally the best in the world, do you still look at that and say, hey, like you may be the best in the world, but you could still be a lot better?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always the question you have to ask is how different would it be if you could take that strength and apply it to a better pattern of movement? And a lot of people will shy away from that or be scared of that because they've never done it. And, you know, and this is what I draw on. It's like I've worked with people like Dylan Hellriegel, where we fixed his squat movement. We took him from 355 to 455 in a year. I've worked with Andrew Cooper. We've taken a raw bench press of 280 and turned it into 315. Like you can do it if you've done it before. And if you've never done it before, of course you're not going to have confidence. I look at technique in that sense in the same way of someone coming up to you. You imagine I'm your client and I'm overweight and you say, here's what you need to do to lose weight. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do a diet because I've tried every diet. Nothing works for me. It's like straight away, you should arc up at that and be like, well, you haven't tried everything.
Yeah.
Because you can do it. We just need to find the way for you to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I have that same confidence with technique. And so sure, you can say that my gold standard is wrong or something like that. That's okay. I don't care. This is what I believe, and it's getting me results and consistently so.
Yeah. So if you if you work with someone who has these deficiencies in their movement and you take them towards the gold standard that you want, but the weight on the bar is significantly less than what they were doing before, how do you reassure them that that is coming, like that they're going to break through that, you know, old barriers?
For sure. And this is the counter argument that a lot of people will make, of course, which is that, okay, well, at some point we have to, like we were saying before, bridge that gap between perfection and performance. And all that is just the art of coaching. Just like with your lifters, you're not peaking all the time. You're not lifting heavy all the time. You're probably doing a blend of both at the same time a lot of the time, where if you're doing RPE-styled programming, you're doing an indicator set, and you're doing volume work underneath. Regardless of how you're training, whether it's heavy or light, at some point you're doing work that you can completely control. You're warming up. You're doing the empty bar. You're doing 60 kilos. You're doing 80 kilos, 100, whatever, on the way up. There's always opportunities to practice and reinforce better movement. So there's absolutely no reason why you can't be working on technique and strength and maximizing strength at the same time. It's just as a coach knowing when to sort of ignore the hyper focus on technique and focus more on performance and know how to sort of blend those two together over time. But yeah, I'm under no illusion that, I'm never going to be a coach that's like, that wasn't perfect, we need to pull the weight back. That's fucking bullshit.
Back to the broomstick.
Yeah, no way. Like my goal with any of my lifters is to make them as strong as humanly possible. And you don't get points for looking pretty with technique on the day. I don't give a fuck about that. All I give a fuck about is that over time we're getting stronger, and technique is a huge part of that. And I don't think anyone would argue against that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've heard you talk about this idea of, and you kind of alluded to it there, where, you know, that gap between perfection and performance. how would you kind of describe that concept in terms of like, you know, your perfect load may be like 180, but your best load might be 280.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, what's the actual goal then? Is it to move the 180 closer to the 280?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But along the way, it shouldn't just be closing that gap. It should be moving the 280 with it. We just want to move that 180 at a faster rate than the 280.
You want the 180 to catch 300 before it
Yeah.
gets to 320 or whatever.
But so like for example, you know, if I'm taking, let's use a more extreme example like Joseph Whitaker. You know, when he started squatting with me, started training with me, he hadn't hit 400 yet. On the weekend, this weekend, he should go above 470. And so there was work to do with his, I know there's stupid
That's
numbers.
fucking crazy.
There's stupid numbers. No, I'll use a better example actually. I'll use Colton. I don't know if you've seen Colton, one of my lifters. He's in South Africa. He's 108 kilos. At his last comp, he squatted 415. He benched 225 and deadlifted 415. And he's 22 years old.
Something in the water over there?
Yeah, 22 years old. And then, of course, I don't know if you've seen my lifter Theo Maddox
I've
in
seen Theo.
New Zealand, you know, pulled 460 the other day. You know, if we get a lifter like this, it's just about, okay, when is their competition? When do they need to be strong? And sort of how do we build in the stuff that's going to make their technique better? And how do we know when to pull that out? So if movement is terrible, I'm going to use a lot of tempo work. I'm going to use a lot of lighter stuff where the focus is on controlling movement. But that's going to be detrimental to peak performance at some stage. So at some stage, when we get towards strength and peaking, we pull all that stuff out. And my feedback on technique just, it drops off. It's just like, that's looking great, man. It becomes less of a focus on the minute technical aspects of the lift and more, are you achieving the comp standards?
Yeah. I think that's actually a really good point. It's like you can almost like break the block up into sort of like the way that you communicate as well.
For sure.
So like those building blocks leading into a meet, you're trying to alter things, you're trying to improve upon things. And then when you get to the pointy end of the stick, you're not really trying to make any improvements. You're just trying to show off what you've worked for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, the people conflate sometimes because I'm, you know, quite or over the years, maybe less so now, over the years I've been such a proponent of being very vocal about like the importance of technique. People automatically assume that if you're hammering home this message of a technique, that safety's got something to do with it. Like people automatically assume you want to do perfect technique because you're scared of injury. I don't care about injury. No, you know, Colton, Theo, Joseph, Dylan, they don't come to me and be like, hey, Thomas, I heard you're a great coach and I want to be the safest lifter I can.
I want to be the least injured guy.
No, they want to be the strongest they can. And so when it comes to lifting, it's like these breakdowns are going to happen in the absence of me. If I was never their coach, they're going to experience these breakdowns. So I don't have to be scared of like technique falling apart a little bit at the top end. People aren't that fragile. They don't just snap in half when technique gets a bit funky. So again, it's just understanding like the broader goal over time and never just honing it in on it in a snapshot like people tend to do when you make this argument.
Cool. Let's veer towards the programming discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And you're again someone who's been pretty like keen on percentage-based programming for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with you on that. I still to this day use prescribed loads and percentage stuff more than I do RPEs.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like RPEs are kind of taking the sport over in a way. What's your argument for sort of having set percentages and having set loads that you know your clients work well with? What's your argument for that as opposed to, you know, someone following an RPE plan?
Yeah, I liked when you wrote this question down and sent it the other day because I was like, it just takes me back. One of the standout moments from like my development in terms of the coach development stuff and building that course was the conversations that I had with you about programming, because back then you were doing a lot of RPE stuff. And I remember, I've got the recordings of it. I remember talking about percentage almost like I had a chip on my shoulder about RPE. And I remember walking away from that conversation being like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, you got to figure this shit out a bit more. This isn't about your coaching. You're not teaching people how to be you. You're teaching people how to coach. And that really reframed my whole view of programming in general. I like to make the correction when I talk about percentage-based stuff I look at percentage-based stuff in my head not as percentage-based programming, but as fixed number
Yeah,
programming.
that's the same as me. Yeah, prescribed
Exactly,
loads,
because in someone's head, when you say percentage programming, like, you know, Angus is very vocal about hating on percentage, which is cool. I find his stuff really funny. Very, vocal about hating on percentage stuff. Immediately, that forms a picture in people's head, which is like percentage of 1 rep max, and often people like him will make the argument, well, 6 months you're going to get stronger, so. And that's exactly the biggest question when using fixed number programming, is that input max should change, and it should change over time.
Do you actually have a max that your numbers like work off of in your programming? Like, is there actually a cell that
There's an input number,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and it's not a 1 rep max. It's a projection. It's really a reverse engineering of where the person's performance is at based on the previous block.
and how often do you update that? Block at a time?
I'd say every 10 to 12 weeks. Every 10 weeks, I should say, because my blocks are generally 5 weeks, the way that I program it. But honestly, it's just as needed, as required. But I don't have a strong argument for either side. Like, if you're asking me the reason why I still use fixed number programming, it's because I've been doing this for 12 years, and I've developed a system over 12 years built around this one style of programming, and I'm so confident with it that I'm not going to change it. I now have a much broader and better understanding of the overall principles of programming. So if I wanted to change to RPE style programming tomorrow, I would have complete confidence in it. On a more personal note, like for me as a coach, it's also a control thing. And I mean that in the sense of protection of the lifter. So I like to be the control freak when it comes to the numbers and the programming, because I want them to go to a comp, and if anything goes wrong, they can turn around and say, you fucked up. That was on you. I don't ever want to go to a comp with a lifter where I've used a program where they've picked all the numbers for the last 12 months and have any inkling in my mind that this person was sandbagging their numbers or getting it wrong. I want it to all fall back on me. Yep. I want all the problems to come back to me so I can continually get better and I can be a better coach for them.
Yeah, and I think like once you get more experience, like yourself and me, like you can watch someone lift. You can watch someone lift for a few weeks even when you start with them, and you can know sort of what loads they need to be lifting to improve. You can tell. Like, you don't need them to have the full control to choose their loads. Like, you can actually, and particularly when you work with someone for even longer period of time, you know what works for them. You know what ranges of percentage they work well in for what ranges of reps they work well in. That you almost like, it's almost safer to do it that way. Like from an actual like predictive of progress standpoint.
Yeah, I would go further than that. So we did a loose calculation just for fun a couple of weeks ago of how many people I've worked with directly over the last 12 years. And it was just over 2,000. So in working with such a huge amount of people over time, you realize that everyone fits pretty neatly into a box. And so you're saying you learn a lifter over time, and absolutely you do. But also, as you get more and more experience working with a broader scope of people, everyone fits pretty neatly into a box. So you have this conversation, I get a lifter and it's like, oh, you're elite, your experience level is here, your size is here, your training has been like this volume is pretty much going to hit the nail on the head, this intensity range, this sort of breakdown of yada, yada, yada. And you can figure that out really quickly. Yeah. And so my approach is to slot people into these boxes, tinker around until you've learnt that lifter, and very quickly you're on a steamroll straight ahead.
Yeah, you've almost got like an archetype for all of these different specifications of lifter.
For sure.
Fit them into a box, and then you adjust within that box, as opposed to like, here's generic template A that every single person does, and then the amount of changes that you'd have to make to fit every type of specification would be enormous.
Yes.
Whereas if you already narrow it down quite a lot, there's only little tinkering that needs to be done.
That's why it's exactly what you just said is why with my own programming, I use fixed block length. So, before I said 10 weeks, that's because I use 4-week deload. That's how I program. And I'll change that according to timing of competitions occasionally. But in general, I would rather keep that fixed block length and then play around with what's inside that block to match the lifter. As in increase the volume, increase the number of days, decrease the accessories, whatever's required to get the right training effect. I look at a training block the same way as I'd look at a training week. Some people will run weeks on repeat and just keep going till they need a reactive deload. I just do exactly the same thing, but I look at it across a whole block.
Yeah.
And so, the arguments that you'd have for or against RPE or fixed number programming are going to be things like, well, everyone feels different on different days. It allows you to auto-regulate, blah, blah. It's all education on either side of the fence. Like they are the same thing, whether you like it or not. Every number you do, you have a feeling of, and every number you do is a percentage of something. It's really just up to you to understand how to drive your own programming. And the way I'd explain my style of programming is I've developed it in such a way where it should fall within a range that it allows you to perform the way you need to perform regardless of how you feel, unless you're feeling way off or way on, which is always going to happen. And then you just teach auto-regulation.
Yeah. You can almost set a load with a very small percentage of leeway on either side.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you're literally dying, then, don't train or like drop it by a lot. And that's like pretty basic, right?
For sure.
I don't think any coach would expect, okay, you're doing 5 sets of 5 at 160 kilos today. I don't think any coach would expect everyone to be able to complete that if they felt like shit. It's
Absolutely.
like almost goes without saying.
Yeah. Yep. Sometimes I forget my bias as well, being that the people that I work with directly come to me for particular reasons. I generally only work with these days a very small client load just because of the other stuff that I've got going on. And the majority of people I work with are the kind of people that just want to be told exactly what to do and put all their faith and trust in me. So it's a good relationship like that. I'm sure that if all of a sudden I went out on my own and my target market was like new up and coming Instagram style lifters, I'd change my whole coaching style because that would be more in line with what they want.
Yeah, and it probably goes with the planned deload approach as well, because you work with high level lifters who have all their ducks in a row outside of the gym. Their life's very predictable and consistent on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, that you can predict when they're going to need a deload.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the argument that Angus would give for just your life deloads for you is people with more chaotic schedules who have crazy work or they go on a bender. Like you don't really have that in your coaching system because everyone is so like advanced and like all powerlifting focused.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, like we're still using the same systems across Zero, but it's maybe its application is slightly different. Yeah, for sure.
One of the things I love about prescribed load training is it takes the guesswork out of the lifter as well. And you can tell me whether you agree or disagree with this. But I see a lot of people who follow RPE, like they warm up, they don't know what they're doing for the day. They've got all these little micro decisions that they have to make towards getting to their top set. And it almost like can mess with their level of execution and their level of focus on just doing the activity well and just executing well. Whereas if okay, I'm working up to 300 kilos today, you can plan all your warm-ups in the drive on the way to the gym and you can start to visualize what the 300 kilos looks like on the bar and, all those kind of things. And it's that real singular focus on what the session is as opposed to like, I don't know what I'm doing today. Let's find out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess it's just feeling versus thinking, right? As long as you're mature enough to be, because I would argue that you could do exactly the same thing for an RPE session. You've got an RPE singlet, a single at RPE 9, and maybe on the way to the gym, you're thinking it's going to be 300. You have to be emotionally mature enough to be able to go, last warm-up's 270, then I'm going to hit 300, hit the 270, oh, that was trash. I'm going to have to drop it and be okay with that.
Yeah.
As long as you're emotionally mature enough, and that's where maybe some people come unstuck, where they're new and fresh and maybe they don't understand the purpose or the principles behind the programming. Maybe they're obsessed with just, I have to put this up on Instagram, whatever it may be. I really believe that people can maximize both, but certainly for me as a coach, I prefer, again, to lean that way.
Yeah, and I think like you can really blend both systems really well too. Like it's not like you were saying before, every percentage has an RPE, every load has an RPE, every RPE has a load. Like they're very closely related. You could almost write in your program, like I want a 7 to 8 RPE and it's going to be between this load. And that gives someone enough instruction to like be able to hit it more correctly.
And for less experienced lifters, I think that's actually really powerful because it teaches you to be okay with both. I think using RPE when you're not used to using RPE is an important thing to do, because if you ever switch to it, you've already got that experience there. And like you just said, you're feeling it regardless. I build RPE into every peak. So I'll give a lifter a number that's sort of like, okay, this is what I expect you to hit. This is our target. Then I'll give them a weight range, and the RPE is there as well, where it's like, your target is a 300 single. Your range is going to be 295 to 307.5. It should be RPE 9.5, because it sends a really clear message. It's like, it's probably going to be in this range. This is the target that I'm looking for, but it should feel this way. It's like saying the complete package.
Yeah. I even go one step further than that. It's like, okay, here's your range, 295 to 307.5. Your last warm up is going to be 285. Do the 285 and pick the right number based off of that. And you've got this, you've got this range.
For sure. It's actually interesting as well. Like, as RPE's programming styles have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, there has been some demand from lifters that work with me to have something similar in there. And so I use indicator sets, but not as indicator sets. So for some lifters, I'll have a fixed progression of a top triple or double or something through a block, where it's just kind of like the fun thing, or the exposure to the heavier weights if they've got issues around lifting heavy, or when they transition into a peak or something. The thing still driving the progress is the work that they're doing underneath it. So there's definitely value in both methods. Absolutely.
And there's definitely value in listening to what the client thinks is going to work, or what the client wants. Because if they go into the gym going, oh, Thomas has set me my load again today, like, I'd like the chance to be able to be a bit more independent, and they kind of like drag their feet through it, probably not going to apply themselves as well as if you gave them kind of what they think is going to do them a better job.
Yeah, sure. That's a super important piece of advice, especially if you're an up and coming coach. Again, I don't really experience that too much these days with my own personal coaching, but definitely back in the day. And yeah, like, coaches get, especially, the whole Dunning-Kruger graph thing, the peak of Mount Stupid or whatever it is.
And the Valley of Despair.
Coaches in that zone are so like arrogant and confident in their methods, which might be way off, that they'll have arguments with clients over training methods. It's like, bro, this person's going to do this with you or without you. So let them do what they want to do, and you can start to build in the things that will actually make a difference. And then as you build that trust and rapport and show them what's working, you can start to have those educational conversations, and then, send them more in the direction that you want them to be in. It's like, just think, if they're not working with you right now, this is what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So help them out with that.
Yeah, they'll go find some other coach who will give them that program.
Exactly.
And something that I say to every new client that I start with, I say, send me a list of every exercise you hate and every exercise you love. And I'll do my best to not put anything in that you hate and put in as much of the stuff you love as I can.
For sure.
And then they see it and they go, oh, cool, I get to do chest supported rows and dumbbell bench. And that's mad. Whereas like someone else might have put in single arm dumbbell rows instead of chest supported rows, and I can give them that. And it's like those small decisions that don't make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things. It makes the lifter feel like they've got choice.
For sure.
Even though that choice is kind of irrelevant.
Exactly. Yeah. In conclusion on the RPE versus percentage debate, it's the dumbest debate ever.
RPE sucks.
It's the dumbest debate ever, because if one was better than the other, we'd all be using that one. It's like the sumo versus conventional debate. If sumo was easier, everyone would do sumo.
Yeah.
Both of them work. Both of them can be effective. It's just about knowing how to use it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next topic was exercise fads. Now, since I've been in powerlifting nearly 10 years, you've been in powerlifting like, 13 or 14 years?
100.
Yeah, a lot of years.
It's almost 20.
Really?
Well, I've been invested in powerlifting for almost 20 years, competing for like 16.
So I think like the start of my powerlifting career was when I bought a powerlifting belt, which was like almost exactly 10 years ago.
Nice.
So I'm just claiming it's 10 years now.
Nice.
In that time, like I've seen so many things come in and out of fashion. Can you recall like the dumbest exercise fad or even programming fad that you can remember?
Dumbest exercise.
And has it like, has anything that you can remember done like a full circle, gone in and out of fashion a couple times?
Pause deadlifts come in and out of fashion a lot.
They're still in fashion.
They're still in fashion, but they were big like way, way back when. And then everyone hated them. And then they came back in. And yeah, now they still sort of.
Because that was a Shaco
linger
thing
around.
at first. It was the halting deadlifts to the
Yes.
knee and down.
Yeah.
That's how that started.
And Chad Wesley Smith was a big proponent of it. And then Ed Cohen as well. It's been around for sure. Pin stuff?
Yeah, I was going to say pin stuff.
Pin stuff
Pin
got
squat
huge
in
for a while,
particular.
and now no one does it.
It's back again
It's back
with
again.
all the RTS guys.
Chain stuff. Chains were like demonized, and now they're kind of becoming cool again. I think Bryce Krawcheck has been a proponent of that and had a bit to do with that.
They're definitely cool. Like, of all bands, chains, boards, all that like old West Side stuff, boxes, all that stuff, chains are the only one that's actually cool. Like, if you put chains on a bench with 2 plates and you're banging and clanging,
See, that's
it
the
looks
annoying thing.
sick.
When you're in the gym and someone's using chains, it's so obnoxiously loud. Such a pain in the ass.
But you feel like a
You
like
do,
a badass.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's more badass than taking your shirt off and putting a big like shipping chain around your neck and doing a dip, getting a photo?
Well, that's the other one is dips as well.
Dips have become cool again.
They've become cool again.
Yeah.
And they were like cool 15 years ago and then out of fashion completely.
Yeah. I think probably one of the biggest things that's become cool again that people don't realize was even not cool for a while and then cool before is just like hyper frequency with no accessories.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, John will tell you Shaco, then everyone went away from that and went to more linear progression and lots of accessories. And now everyone's doing SBD days and, 4 times squat a week, 4 times deadlift a week and 1 set of rows and that's it.
Yeah, I don't understand how people like that. Like, I'm very much like, I want to do pretty bare minimum SBD and then a whole bunch of accessories.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what I find more enjoyable.
Yeah. I mean, mark my words on the trend. You've probably heard me say this before. It's a fast track to getting super strong, super quickly with a really poor foundation and then either getting hurt or just staying at exactly the same weight.
You mean the high frequency stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's people get blinded by it as well. Like you see your favorite Instagram lifter, you're like, fuck, that person is so strong. And if you watch their career, it's like, yeah, they're pulling 320 at 80 kilos or whatever they are. That's not a call out. I'm just pulling a number out of my ass.
You can call someone out if you like.
No. And then 3 years later, they're doing the same thing. Or they're just going up and down. Or they're, and unless the person is consistently making progress, maybe don't look too far into their training methods.
Yeah, and oftentimes those like really extreme methods on either side of the fence, they can create really good results in the short term.
For sure.
And then it becomes almost too much to continue doing in the long term and it's not sustainable and then the progress stalls.
Yeah, exactly.
I think and you'll agree with this for sure, the big fad that I can recall is like everyone shitting on machines. In like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
It was like, nah, we're powerlifters. We just need a barbell and a rack.
Yeah.
And like maybe we'll do pull-ups and dips. And we don't need anything else.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I literally joined a commercial gym recently so that I can do
So
like
you can
hack
use
squats
some
and
machines.
adductor machine and like calves and like all this other stuff that I haven't done.
Man, I mean, like when I opened PTC back in the day, there was like a no machine policy. It was frowned upon to be a PTC with machines. I remember feeling so dirty. I bought a set of, I think, 60 kilo dumbbells and this lat pull down machine from the 70s from this rugby club that was selling it. And I remember bringing it to the gym and feeling so bad about it because I'm like, I've broken the code. I've got a machine. My gyms are full of machines. I love machines.
How many machines did you get before you changed to zero? Like before you changed branding? And did the PTC people actually care?
No. No, Marcus was really cool about it. I mean, Marcus was super supportive the whole way through everything.
Has he got machines in his gym now?
Yeah, he's got heaps.
Okay.
He collects like old Nautilus equipment from like 60s and 70s. I don't know if that's accurate, the years, but very old, like the old chain-driven ones.
The ones that have like you can see through and you can see the mechanisms, those
Yeah.
ones? Yeah, those ones are so cool.
Yeah, they're crazy. It's like a museum at his gym. I had a bunch of machines when I switched. Yeah, I only switched in 2018. And I would have had like leg extension, cable machine, hamstring curl.
Because when I started the CDP, the billing came through as PTC Gold Coast still.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
that's
was in
about right.
2020.
I don't
19.
know.
2019 it was.
Yeah, maybe it's because it was attached to my old email address. I'm not sure. Yeah, Zero's been around since 2018 though.
Yep. Cool. Okay, I want to switch to some Federation talk now.
Okay,
So hopefully
stop recording.
this is like the 5th podcast in a row where I've said hopefully I don't get banned for this.
I know the people who can ban you. They know me very well.
Yeah, I probably got banned the minute that I announced that you were coming on.
Association.
You're just giving me trend in the back. So why is it that you decided to build or help build the APL as opposed to any of the other federations in Australia?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I don't think it's fair to say that I helped build APL and not other federations because
I mean, more recently deciding
yeah.
to go like strictly down that route.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I was running meets for GPC. I was coaching heaps of lifters in IPF, especially in New Zealand. I was supporting 2 federations in New Zealand, all of the federations that were here, both through being a coach, but also supporting their meets. I competed in a bunch of federations as well. Where APL actually came from, so previous to Daniel, who's the president now, it was owned by a guy called John Gabriel, and he was heavily involved with like NRL back in the day, and he was wealthy, well, is wealthy. He had a big accounting business, and he was a powerlifter, and I won't go too deep into the history of the APL stuff, but basically a whole bunch of lifters got screwed over by APL back in the day. And he was like, I want somewhere for me and my kids to lift because his kids lifted with him. And so...
They still lift?
No, I don't think so. And so he basically put his hand up and said, look, I'll take it over. So he took over the Fed and he just started running comps like in the background. And there were a few people around the place that were doing it. And I think he had run one on the Gold Coast maybe that I had nothing to do with. He was just running it out of like I didn't know it existed up here. Well, up on the Gold Coast. And then eventually he reached out and asked me for coaching and also started talking about this federation stuff. And I was like, man, what you're doing is really cool. Like he was pouring, I don't want to say the figure, but it's in the 6 figures that he poured into APL over 3 or 4 years, flying lifters around. He flew the entire team to like the World Championships in Las Vegas. He supported young people through this like junior development squad where he... they were officially sponsored lifters where he was not only sending them equipment, like, I mean, a combo rack, Goliath plates, barbells, but he was also paying lifters to support their development and growth in the sport and also outsourcing to other coaches and paying for that as well. Like he was really, really invested in making it similar to like sponsorship programs that you'd see in up and coming professional sport like rugby. So everything he was doing, I was like, this is cool. Like, this is unreal. So I got sort of sick of living in the shadows of other meet directors with the competitions that I was running, and I was just going to run novice comps, and then he sort of floated the idea of running APL in the gym. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. My first APL comp, I had 8 lifters. The Christmas Cup that we've got in a few weeks, we sold out 150 spots in like 20 minutes. So it's come a long way. But why I got involved was exactly that, just because of him, because of how much energy and effort that someone was putting in financially and asking for no reward, asking for no notoriety. Like you walk around, ask anyone who's John Gabriel, and I don't know, Wilkes, Muir, they make it all about themselves. It's all about,
Beep those names out. Beep those names out, Chris.
Oh, beep those names out, Chris.
I'm just kidding.
No. Some powerlifting federation owners, and this is not unique to Australia, by the way, made it all about themselves and put themselves on top of the pedestal. This guy just sat in the shadows and just wanted powerlifting to win. He gave prize money to comps that were not of his federation. This is the kind of guy we were dealing with. And so eventually he was like, look, I don't want to do this anymore. Thomas, do you want to take it over? At that stage, I just opened the 3rd Zero. And I was like, it would not be wise for me to take on a powerlifting federation while I'm trying to do what I'm doing with Zero. So I was like, look, man, I can't do it. But what I will do as a favor is put it to my team, like the people that I worked with, my business partners, and see if anyone wants to put up their hand and sort of take it over. And I expected them all to say no, because I expected them all to just be like, no, we can't do it without you doing it. But Daniel put his hand up and said yes. And he's done such an amazing job of, he's only had it for not even 2 years. And yeah, he's done such an amazing job of transforming it into what it is now.
Yeah, and I've got a few lifters in Queensland who compete in APL.
Yeah, cool.
And they love it. And I don't hear that kind of feedback from my lifters who compete in other federations. So what do you think? Is John still involved, by the way?
No, he's completely out. Yeah.
So what do you feel like the other federations in Australia, or I guess worldwide, because you've obviously got experience in New Zealand too, what do you think the other federations could do better?
I mean, I think we all know the answer to this. Honestly, it's just listen to the lifters. Like, I think this is the big difference here, especially if we're looking at IPF globally. The IPF sets the global affiliate, or the national affiliates up as not-for-profit organizations, which make it quite difficult from an organizational perspective to benefit everyone. So, in other words, the federation making money, there's very limited ways they can use that money. And of course, being not-for-profit, they don't pay tax on it, right? And so one of the biggest issues with particularly IPF is just it doesn't help the people that are growing the sport of powerlifting win. Like, forget all the political nonsense. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking from a purely like business and grassroots development perspective. A meet director is not making money out of the comp, not making enough money out of the comp to grow the sport in the way that it needs to grow. I think that honestly is the biggest difference, is that what Daniel's doing with APL is putting the lifter at the absolute centerpiece and building it backwards from there. It's like, how do we support the lifter? The lifter is going to get better with better access to coaching, with better access to equipment. How do they get better access to equipment? The meet directors need to buy that equipment. How do they buy it? They run bigger and better comps. They get the money from the comps. They put that back in. It's really just, it's honestly just plain business sense.
And how much money how does the structure of the competitions run with APL, with the meet directors taking the money? Like, how does that actually work? What's the split?
The meet director takes 100% of the money.
Right.
Yeah, there is no split.
So the federation receives nothing.
The federation just receives the membership fees.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Well,
That's it. So the meet director then has to pay for the drug testing if they're running a drug testing meet, and of course then all of their other costs associated with medals and trophies and whatever they decide to do with all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. Because I remember when I was running meets at Lift for PA, we made zero money. Well, there was a rental fee which went to the gym.
Sure.
So we didn't see any of it, didn't go back into the gym or anything. But with APU now, APU takes a certain chunk of the entry, and then the meet director gets the rest, and they can kind of do with it what they want, which is like a step in the right direction. But you're saying it's 100%.
Yeah, well, it's a reverse step, because initially when APU started, because I was involved with APU right at the start, I was the meet director of their Oceanias in 2018. When APU started, it was the opposite. I think it was an 85-15 split, 85 to the meet director, 15 to APU. And since then, it's pretty much spun around.
It's, I believe, $35 goes to
person.
APU per entry.
Yeah.
And then the meet director can charge whatever they like. So if you charge $100, you get to keep 65.
Sure.
Yeah, which is all right.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, better than what we were doing with PA. Like, I was giving like 15 hours on the weekend for squat.
Yeah. But I mean, even then, it's still not enough. By the time you weigh up the costs involved with running a meet, and there are hidden costs that you don't think about. There's wear and tear on your equipment. Things break, man. Things break at these competitions. People mistreating equipment out the back, hiring chairs. Sometimes you have to move your entire gym around. You need manpower. Like, there's a lot that goes into running a meet. And so the more supported the meet director is, the better. And again, I'm saying all this not from a political perspective, but purely from a, like, if people listening to this don't know who I am and don't know Zero, go look it up. Go look at the gyms we have. Go look at the Gold Coast gym. In the last 3 years from meet revenue, I've put in 2 big ass fans, which cost 17 grand for 2 fans. Big ass fans are fucked. Don't buy them. Yeah, don't buy big ass fans. They're great, they work, but get another brand that's cheaper. Put 2 big ass fans. I put an air conditioning into the warehouse. That was 17 grand. I bought a lot of I re-kitted out the entire gym with brand new calibrated plates. And I'm not talking, one set. I'm talking 98 reds, just reds. I bought new bars. We have gone from 4 combos to 7 combos. John will tell you what a combo costs. We've put a lot of the money from the revenue back into the gym, and what does that do? It grows competitions to the point where we can sell them out in 10 minutes. So it really has to be centered on the lifter, and to center on the lifter, you have to look at them as a customer. So what gets the customer the best experience? You have to listen to them. We do APL does surveys. They survey the members. They get feedback. They listen to the feedback. They change things as a result of the feedback. They're coming from a lifter's perspective as well. That's why I love Daniel as the president, because Daniel's not that experienced in powerlifting. He's been around the sport for 3 or 4 years. And so he brings a fresh new lifter perspective into it, but also isn't clouded by all the bias of being involved in powerlifting. So he asked me for advice and I'll give it to him. And he's like, why hasn't anyone thought of doing it this way? And you know what it's like. We've been doing this for so long. You just accept things as normal and you don't question why they're done a particular way.
Yeah, it seemed like every new federation that comes around just will do the exact same things.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what's the point of this new federation if it's just the same as the other federation with people I like?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the new IPF bench rules?
The elbow thing, dumbest thing ever. How are you going to ref it? Ref me. Come outside. Get 3 of his. You ref me. Watch my elbows. I'll give you $100 if you can see my elbows from the side.
I was literally just talking to Steve Day about this yesterday, and he was saying that the refereeing at women's states last weekend was stricter than it was at Worlds on elbow depth.
Oh, and I mean, again, leaving all politics aside, has there been adequate training for referees on how to actually referee this? This is the scariest thing about a rule change like that, is that now no one has any experience in refereeing this stuff. And so think of all the rules in powerlifting that are kind of objective, but still very subjective. Basically every rule, bar depth, all of it. You sort of, over time, with the experience, start to get much better at refereeing.
Yeah, it's hard. You get an eye for it with enough reps.
Yeah, and there'll be someone next to you who's more experienced that can tell you how to. No one's got experience in this, so everyone's just making it up. That's the scariest thing of the elbow thing to me. What's the deadlift thing that I'm hearing going around?
Yeah, they sent out a newsletter. APU sent out a newsletter, basically highlighting a clause in the IPF rule books which says, you must lower the bar down with control, and they highlighted it and said, we're going to be strict in enforcing this. And there was a few women on the weekend who just put the bar down normally like you would. It was 3 reds.
You see, the IPF rulebook control refers to hands on the bar. If you read the exact wording, it's literally referring to you can put the bar down in any way, shape, or form as hard as you want, but you have to have your hands on the bar. That's all it means.
Yeah,
I know this because I'm the technical chair for APL, and I just rewrote the entire rulebook. So I've read every rulebook 1,000 times in the last couple of months, and so one hole in the IPF's rule on deadlifts is. There's no clarification for foot movement after the down call. So you know how people jump in on the sumo? I think that should be allowed. I think you should be able to hold on, jump your feet in, totally fine, because it's safety for the lifter. But what happens if you get to the top, you get a down call? I haven't realized that you're actually falling back and then you stumble. Technically, you should get white lights for that, because after you've received the down call, your feet can move.
Yes.
So there's no clarification for that in the rulebook.
Provided you falling doesn't lead to you dropping the bar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can fall, which I don't actually particularly like. So I've taken the idea you can put the bar down however you want as long as your hands stay on, but I've written a clarification with consultation with other people. It's not just me making up rules for the fun of it.
Is that your heels have to stay in the same place they are?
No. It's just if it's deemed as a stumble or a loss of control, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was a few of the girls were, tempo RDLing their deadlifts back to the floor. And like with a max, like that's
Yeah.
and you
It's
see
horrible.
a lot of particularly, men who deadlift heavy in the lighter weight classes, they lose grip.
Mm,
Like how are you supposed to
for sure.
hold on to it for an extra 2 seconds when you barely can hold on to it at the top?
The problem is that like one of you three, tell me right now what constitutes hard enough or light enough with putting the bar down.
I actually think that a lot of the issue that some of the refs had on the weekend was you two autistic guys. I knew you'd get along. A big issue that a lot of the refs had on the weekend was because literally the platform was loud.
Yeah, I mean,
And it was like bang, and they're like, "Nah, Reds."
yeah. See, that's what I mean. It's so there's a lot of subjective rules in powerlifting, a lot of rules that have no reason to be there, and I hope I've done justice to the lifter by cleaning that up a lot.
Thumb loops on wrist wraps.
Yeah, that's not a rule in our rule book
That's the
anymore.
worst
You
rule.
can leave thumb loops on. Where that comes from is like you can't have the wrist wrap more than
Too
2
high,
centimeters
yeah.
above, and so it constitutes part of the wrist wrap. It's like, cool, bro. Show me a guy that's added 50 kilos to his squat by leaving the thumb loop off.
Yeah.
Get fucked.
So stupid.
Um,
All right, we're gonna finish up with one final question, which I didn't actually write in the sheet.
oh no.
So you're gonna be on the spot here.
Yes.
If you could change one thing about powerlifting, what would it be? It can be like tiny, can be a little pet peeve, it can be something huge.
I have to go with where I'm at in my journey in powerlifting life, which is basically coming back to what we said before, having the lifter be the absolute focus of the federation, and federations run like proper businesses where the customer comes first, which means for me, the biggest part of all of that, obviously I have a big heart for gyms and gym owners, is having the gym owners have incentive to run powerlifting. That's how we're going to grow the sport.
Yeah. And it does seem like a lot of gyms are actually like reluctant to run comps now because they're not being rewarded.
Mm.
And when I was doing it, I was happy to do it because I wanted to grow the sport, and I had so much free time. I had a partner, but not engaged, not married, no kids. Powerlifting was like a huge part of my life, and I wanted to provide the lifters in Sydney with enough comps. So I would run 6, 7, 8 comps a year, and it would be a huge effort every time we do it. But for me, it was worth it for no money. But then people like me, now in a position where I can't do that because of actual time commitments, like who are the people willing to do it?
Sure. Exactly. I want to ask you the same question. What would you change?
I'm going to go something like extremely, extremely specific. I want to ban every lifter from RPE on comp day.
What do you mean?
Have you not seen this? Have you not seen people come off the platform and go, yeah, it was at 8, and then they plug into their calculator
Oh, no.
and go, okay, at 8 means plus 12.5, and then they put that attempt in. Have you not seen that?
Nah.
Oh my God, it's the single dumbest thing I can remember. Like I'm big on I like to get my clients to rate their RPEs,
Yeah.
no matter if it's a set of 10 or a single, whatever.
Yeah.
Like rate the RPE so that we can get some idea of what loads correlate to what RPEs for what rep ranges, right?
Yeah.
And then if I ever do give you some sort of an RPE system, you sort of have all that data ready to go, and you can kind of reverse engineer it. But I'm also a big proponent of using kilos in reserve when it gets to comp periods. So when you start to get into your peak and you do your singles each week, I want you to write down the kilos in reserve and not the RPE. And then I see it every comp, and it pisses me off.
That's the equivalent of like sleeping with an app and then waking up and being like, oh, I had 5 hours sleep, I'm tired. It's like, are you? Just wait until you see if you're tired or not. Like, don't let the machine tell you what to do.
I hate those Whoop things.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's it. So thanks for coming, man.
No, thanks for having me.